It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. Just about everyone in Southeast Michigan knows water is getting more expensive. Rates have been going up for years, but the largest increase ever for Great Lakes Water Authority customers, or GLEWA, is up for a vote. At GLEWA's January Board of Directors meeting, it was the board making its case and the public pushing back. Joining me now is Noah Kincaid. He leads Detroit Documenters. That's a civic journalism program where trained residents attend public meetings and take detailed notes to help the rest of us stay informed. Welcome, Noah.
Thanks, Robin.
So Detroit documenter Perry Sylvester attended that meeting that I just mentioned, and he sent us this dispatch. Let's listen.
I was covering this meeting remotely. From what I could tell, there was a sense of business as usual from everybody involved. The way each of these two groups portrayed business as usual is markedly different. For those making public comment, it was one of frustration, but a frustration that one sense they expected to experience. And for the people running the meeting and doing presentations, it was more of a sense of, this is just the way it's done.
Okay, so Perry just told us that for the GLEWA board and residents speaking up during public comment, it seemed like there were no surprises. GLEWA is proposing a rate hike, and people, of course, don't want that. Right. And we're going to get into why GLEWA is saying that it needs to raise its rates. But first, Noah, what is the proposed rate increase?
Yeah, what they're proposing are increases of around, it's 6.96, so almost 7% for water and almost 6% increase for sewage charges. Now, just to be clear, these are not, GLEWA doesn't bill the end customer. They bill the local municipalities that then bill the customers. So there's like 110 or more communities between Detroit all the way up to Flint, and most of Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland counties that they provide it to these municipal water departments that then pass those costs on.
So even though your bill doesn't say Great Lakes Water Authority, that's where the money's going.
That's right. And so these increases are the highest ever, the highest in the 10 years of GLEWA. This is the second year in a row, actually, that the rates have been the highest ever. They raised them quite a bit last year as well. And just to put it in perspective, if you look at the 10-year average increases, what they're proposing this year is more than twice what the average increase is, and it's for water, and it's almost 3 times more for sewer.
What do these increases look like for a household? Like, what should I expect when I see that water bill?
Yeah, GLEWA is predicting that the average household in its service area is going to see about a $3.50 increase on their monthly bills. So, some people may not even notice that, right? But if you are a customer who's already having difficulty paying your bill, that's like $3.50 more you can't afford.
Right. If you're already potentially facing a water shutoff.
Right.
This is huge.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the crucial question here that we always must ask on this show and when we are doing journalism is why? Why does GLEWA say rates need to go up?
Yeah, GLEWA said there are 3 things that are really driving this. I think the biggest one is investment in aging infrastructure, right? So our water system in Southeast Detroit, Southeast Michigan. I'm going to get it right, Robin.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, it's old. And
Sure.
and it's been taking hits. Almost every year we're having a major incident, starting with 2021 storm that backed up sewage into like 30,000 basements in Detroit. Last year there was a huge water main that broke in Southwest Detroit. I got that one right. That flooded like 200 people's homes, right? So these big incidents are happening all the time. it's much cheaper to fix them and prevent them from happening by updating and maintaining the infrastructure than to deal with it once, all these homes are wrecked, right? So that's the big one. But also they're saying that operating expenses are going up a lot with inflation, with everything else. The cost of their utilities, the gas and electric that they have to use to run this water system. Also the cost of the chemicals that they have to use to treat the water. The cost of paying their staff and technology, all these things are going up. And then lastly, they're saying that, normally they, their cash that they have on hand, they keep invested in very, very safe investments that, return a low interest rate that is determined by the Federal Reserve rate. Because those rates are coming down, they have about $8 million less in investment earnings this year. And normally they would use that to offset these increases. But because they've made less on their investments this year, they're saying that's also driving up the costs.
Okay, so you have just cited a lot of different reasons. But of course, for people who are scraping by, a lot of those reasons are not going to mean much to them.
Right.
I'm wondering how different rates might be across Southeast Michigan. Do residents in different cities pay the same amount?
They don't, no. So the rates actually vary. I think it's interesting. They vary by each municipality, like how much water are they using, but also what is their elevation and how far are they from the water supply that they're getting, right? So if they are up really high and they're at a much higher elevation than the source of their drinking water, it's going to cost a lot to get the water pumped up to them and or the distance that they are from that source.
I mean, Noah, I find that interesting too. It's how hard your water has to work to get to you,
That's
essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Who approves these rate increases? Or in other words, how is GLEWA, the Great Lakes Water Authority, regulated?
Well, environmentally, they're regulated by state and federal laws. In Michigan, it's EGLE, which is just an acronym, stands for the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. But, that's like regulating them for water quality and those kind of standards. In terms of prices, it's really just GLEWA's board of directors. Now, so they have a 6-member board of directors. There are 2 representatives on that board representing the city of Detroit. There's 1 representative each from Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland counties, and then there's 1 that represents the state that's appointed by the governor. They are the final say on what the rates are going to be.
Okay, Noah, so let me make sure I'm hearing you right here. There's no direct vote by residents on rates. The people paying these bills have no direct say.
That's right. They can show up at a public meeting and express their discontent, right? But they don't, have a direct say. They don't get to vote on it. That's right.
Has GLEWA said how they plan to use the revenue?
They have, yeah. It's it's a mix of operating costs, capital that is serving their debts and their infrastructure, and then they have a lease to the city of Detroit for the system.
Well, this is the water system budget. 98% comes from charges. When you look at the uses of those funds, 46% is operating, 49% is capital, which is actually a pretty healthy statistic. That much of what people are paying funds, assets and investments, and then about 5% is the lease payment to the city of Detroit.
Okay, that's Nicolette Bateson, the treasurer for GLEWA, the Great Lakes Water Authority, talking a lot of words that are not totally clear. Noah, Can you translate?
I can try, yeah. So the operations is pretty straightforward, right? That's the cost to keep the system running, keep the water going to your house, take the sewage and treat it, and pay all of the staff and the service workers and everyone to do that. That second part that she talked about, which is really the capital, 49%, which is the largest chunk, goes to capital. If you kind of dig into their budget, most of that is called debt service, right? Because when they do these big infrastructure investments, right, they're actually selling bonds to raise this capital. And then that percentage, that 49% of the money, of the total money that they're raising, charging these municipalities, that is servicing the debt on those bonds, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And before we go, there are a few more things I want to touch on. I want to touch on residents, what they were saying, and then what people can do. First, let's hear from a resident during the public comment period.
It's a cost of living crisis, and the thing that's harder to quantify is the number of people who are already on the edge and get put past the edge by another rate increase on another household necessity when prices and costs are going up all over the place.
Okay, was that the prevalent feeling?
Absolutely.
Lots of people saying that this is going to hurt folks. It's an affordability issue. We're in an affordability crisis.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're saying, look, people are going to have to decide whether they're paying for their medicine or food or now their water bill.
All right, here is the $1 million question. What can residents do?
If residents cannot currently afford their bill, there are a couple different plans they can apply to. For people outside of Detroit, but within GLEWA's service area, they can apply to the Water Residential Assistance Plan. That's the acronym is WRAP. And then for Detroit residents, you can apply to the Lifeline H2O plan. And that can lock in lower monthly bills. And I just want to say this because this literally just happened over the last 48 hours. The city and DWSD made changes to the Lifeline H2O plan. Anyone previously, if you had a past due amount that you hadn't paid, you were not allowed to try to get on that plan. You couldn't even apply for it. Now you can, right? And that is a huge change. And they're expecting this plan to completely fill up and max out in the next 3 weeks. So if you want to get on this plan, now is the time to apply. The other things you can do is contact your local officials. Your reps in Lansing right now, there are bills going through the Senate and the House to provide affordability for water and accessibility, and then speak at public meetings. On February 25th, their board is meeting and there's going to be a public hearing. So minutes before they vote to approve these rates, you can show up, you can speak, you can have your voice heard.
Noah Kincaid leads the Detroit Documenters for Outlier Media. That's a civic journalism group training and paying residents to attend public meetings, take notes on what our elected officials and neighbors are saying, and talk to us about it as well. Noah, thanks so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be back with more from the Metro after news from NPR and WDET. This is WDET FM Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.